So, welcome. Our practice today is about the change in season, about our breath in general, and I would love you to get started lying down. There's no particular props that we might need or anything like that. So please feel welcome to get comfortable on your backs as you lie down. I suggest today a constructive rest, which means you lie on your back, you step your feet out to mat distance, and then you let your knees fall in against each other so that you can feel comfortable there as well. Allowing perhaps to close your eyes. And if closing the eyes is rather on the challenging side, please leave them open and find a steady gazing point towards the ceiling. Until lying down, constructive rest is slightly different to a shavasana, and I'm placing you here in that position for a purpose. However, if it is not comfortable for you, please just simply lie down or even sit up if you need to for the beginning of our practice. Perhaps beginning to explore yourselves as you come to lie down. I'm taking that moment where you feel into the soles of your feet as they're resting on the floor, the knees as they're drawn inwards and touching. And perhaps when you feel into the legs, although the feet are down on the ground, they feel quite held and supported. And you might notice a similar sensation there in the lower back, as the spine is usually completely held by the floor in that position. Whether you place your hands on the body is really up to you. My suggestion, however, is to let the arms fall open. When we release the arms, not only by our sides, but a little bit away from the side, there is a chance to wiggle your shoulders onto the ground. Leaving the palms of the hands facing upwards, in general, is more of a sign to be ready to receive, as well as being open to do so. So as you find your place within the body, as well as outside of your body, within this space, start to notice your own breath. What does it feel like? Can you feel within your nostrils a slightly cooler air entering the nostrils and then a warmer air exiting the nostrils? As you feel into your breath, and if you are challenged in this season with hay fever, perhaps there is a hesitancy towards breathing fully. Please acknowledge that hesitance. Everything that we notice around our breath is kind of reflecting on how we're feeling within ourselves, not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally. So our breath changes according to our mind, really, according to any stress that we might have placed upon ourselves. Right now, I hope you feel comforted, safe, and that your breath is moving smoothly. If there is any mental, emotional challenges within your life right now, you might solely focus on the flow of the breath. Just feeling your breath moving. This is also quite a brilliant thing to do when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed in your life out there off the mat. Focusing on your breathing and perhaps particularly on the out-breath. Allowing yourself a few out-breaths now. You could even open the mouth. The in-breath still gentle. The out-breath might be too, but perhaps releasing the breath from the mouth and noticing what that feels like. You could increase your rate of breathing and inhale more deeply, and perhaps even sigh the breath out. See how that feels for you. What impact does that have on you? Now, from this lying position, I will guide you through a few rounds of Viloma pranayama, a breathing technique. While you maintain your constructive rest, and this is the reason why I brought you in it, we have a chance to really let the air flow, but also the energy flow up and down the spine. For this pranayama or breathing technique, we will take a 3-part breath in, and each part, like first the belly, then the ribs, then the upper chest, we will count for 3. This is a continuous 3-part in-breath. There's an option to hold the breath then at the top. And when you breathe out, we'll do that from the top down towards the bottom. So engaging the tummy last. This will be a count of 9. If you find yourself being challenged by counting the breath or even the length of the count, please feel free to modify or leave the counting out for yourself altogether. There's always a way to visualize breathing practices, just as there's a way to visualize postures, while you still have an impact on your being. Let's begin with the first round of Viloma. Breathing into the belly, 3, 2, 1. Rib cage, 3, 2, 1. Upper chest, 3, 2, 1. Pause. And then out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing into the belly. 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs. 3, 2, 1. Upper chest. 3, 2, 1. Perhaps a pause. And breathing out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the breath rest. Let your body rest. Breathe naturally and observe. This Viloma pranayama is also called against the grain, that is speaking for the out-breath that moves from top to bottom. Let's repeat the technique. Breathing into the belly for 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. Upper chest, 3, 2, 1. Optional pause. And then out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing into the belly. 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs. 3, 2, 1. Upper chest. 3, 2, 1. Pause. And out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Resting again, just noticing. Air flowing gently through the nostrils. And we go for our last round, breathing into the belly. 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs. 3, 2, 1. Collarbones. 3, 2, 1. Maybe hold. And then out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and into the belly. 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs. 3, 2, 1. Collarbones. 3, 2, 1. Maybe hold. And out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and resting and observing once again. You could notice your body again as you have it resting here. You might gently separate your knees and notice the impact on the pelvis and lower back. You might choose to gently roll the head a few times from side to side, perhaps gaining some mobility around the neck. As you center the head again, balanced to each side, you might allow windscreen wiper movement with your knees rolling from side to side. I'm starting reasonably careful with this movement and then might slowly expand into it, perhaps moving a bit bigger. And once I've established the way I'm rolling my knees, I might bring the head back in. If you have explored that the movement of your head and neck is safe, you might do the same, and rolling knees to the side as well as the head. Up to you how far you go with the movement. Ideally, rolling your knees over towards your left-hand side, then letting your whole body join and using your top hand to help you lift up into a seated position. I will now use a block. There's no need for you to actually have a block, but if you have perhaps a cushion or a folded blanket, if there's no block, that might be nice just to elevate your seat to. Perhaps you can find an easy pose there where one leg is resting in front of the other. Perhaps your seat is more individual and suited to your body today. In other words, you can sit in any way as long as you get your spine upright there. Your hands might gently rest towards your thighs or knees. And the first suggestion here is towards a seated cat and cow. For the inhale, might just squeeze your shoulder blades, start to bring your heart forward, maybe lifting your gaze. For the out breath, straighten the arms and lean into the arms, the hands and the back is rounding. For the in breath, start to lift your heart, draw the shoulder blades together. On the out breath, lean and round into your back, lower the head. Let's repeat that for 3 more breaths. Lifting to open on the inhale and rounding the spine on the out breath. Again, nothing here but the breath and then a movement added to your breathing. When you completed your rounds, bringing your fingertips down in front and perhaps gently leaning forward, whatever that means for you. It could be that you're resting on your hands. You might come further down to the forearms. See what's comfortable for you. Just allowing the hips to fold forward, and you might feel a little stretch there within the hips, maybe the glutes, the back. Take 1 deep breath to remain here, in and out. Then as you walk your hands back, notice which leg you might have in front or choose a side. And then swing that side hand behind your back, landing your fingertips there. The other hand can stay in front as support or reach to the other leg as we start to twist and turn. And we might all go in a different direction here. Please be gentle there as well. The body still needs a bit of warming up to do. As you turn the head forward, breathe in. And as you breathe out, swing the arms around and change your side. Coming to a gentle twist on the other side. Again, please take a deep breath. As you next inhale, bring your head forward again. And then swing the arm from the front all the way behind your back and placing both hands, fingertips down, even leaning a little bit into the fingertips. Starting to squeeze your shoulder blades once more, this time to lift from your sternum. If you find this is what you need to do, please keep your gaze forward. If your neck is happy, bring the chin forward, protraction, and then slowly guiding the chin, leading the head back. If you choose this, please bring the head all the way back. Try not to hold it awkwardly. That usually creates tension. The head might be all the way back, but it's still a lift off your chin. Let's take a deep breath over the front body. And as you breathe out, start to round your lower back. Let the spine begin to round and let that spine help you to lift the heavy head. As you come back into the center, please change now the cross of the legs if you were in an easy pose. If you weren't, that's fine too, but please find an upright seated position now, even if that means you need to lean against the wall or a support that you have in your space. Give the shoulders a little shrug back, sitting upright and tall. Now for my comfort, I will change my seated position slightly as well. And we will practice a few rounds of the alternate nostril raising technique I refreshed on recently in a workshop. So I've learned now that very traditionally, rather than resting your two fingers, index and middle over the third eye point, we fold them into the palm of the hand. So we've got our thumb free and we've got our ring finger open as well as the little finger. We're only using the thumb and the ring finger and we're placing those gently over the sides of the nostrils. There's a little dent here. You might want to use that to place them upon. It can be quite tricky to hold the arm up, so you could place the opposite palm underneath the elbow to support you. Careful that once you've risen your hand, you're not leaning into the hand, keeping even your neck long. We'll begin this technique, and if you find this is too challenging for yourself, please visualize it instead. Let's breathe into both nostrils and out of both. Then closing the right nostril and inhaling through your left. Open the right, close the left, and exhale through the right nostril. Inhaling through the right nostril. Open the left, close the right, and breathe out the left nostril. This was our first cycle. Inhaling left nostril. Exhaling right nostril. Inhaling right. Exhaling left. Second cycle complete. Please continue breathing in through the left. Out through the right. In through the right. And out through the left. Please continue in left out, right in, right out, left, alternating. And perhaps maintaining the pace that I suggested in my verbal instructions, which was roughly a count of 4 for each breath in and each breath out. You can just stay attuned to it or actually count the rest to keep it in even lengths. Visualization is fine, but alternating your nostrils. Please continue that in your own way, counting or feeling. And let your whole awareness rest on the technique. Each breath, the alternation of the nostrils. I will leave you with this for a little bit longer. And you complete your next exhalation through the left nostril. Relax the hands down, but perhaps keep your eyes closed. And as usual, feel into what has occurred within yourself. Allowing your hands now to land forward and gently bending forward once more. Perhaps there's a different leg position here. And slowly walking your hands back, placing the fingers once more behind you, squeezing the shoulder blades together, lifting the heart. Protraction of the chin. If you guide the head backwards, do so with the extension of the neck. Then take a deep breath. And again, on the out breath, begin to round the lower back. Let your back help your head to come up as it's rounded. And if you're sitting on a support that is as high as a block, please remove that. I will instead use a quite flat folded blanket underneath my bottom. There's nothing really required, but I just find that a bit useful. Opening the legs out to either side from here and placing your hands down so you can shuffle your sitting bones towards the floor as you walk them out, finding a sense of openness here in the legs and perhaps also a flexion of the feet. See if the blanket or whatever you have underneath you supports you sufficiently. If not, you can fold or even roll that up if you need it a tad bit higher. For your next breath in, lifting the arms, and if that's available, placing both hands behind the head, keeping your elbows open. Turn your right elbow down, and on the exhale, lean with the right elbow towards the right thigh. On the inhale, lift and turn left elbow to left leg. As you breathe out, maybe the elbow lowers down. That's our movement. We breathe in to twist and turn and sit, and out to lean an elbow down. We're inhaling to center and turn, and exhaling for a side bend. Please keep that flowing for a little moment. If the hands behind the head is too much, you might see me modifying on the one side as the shoulder is still a bit sore here. So please feel welcome to find your modification. Basically, we're changing from one side bend towards the other. Always bringing same side elbow down towards the thigh as we're extending into the side body. We're coming towards a twist in a moment. One more to each side until you're balanced. And then as you come up to sit, bringing the hands down gently in front, keeping your feet in a flexion. Take the hands now to the outside of your right leg, and you might even lift the other side of the hip as you lower your nose to the floor, like you're sniffing the beautiful spring flowers. Then push yourself off the mat, take the hands over to the other side, and do the same here. Imagine the beautiful flowers, have a sniff, then push yourself away and come back to the other side. There's quite a vigorous push into the floor with both of your arms as you're deliberately twisting and leaning down towards the ground. Keep that going for a few more. See if you can almost jump off your hands. Last round, one more on each side. Then coming back towards a seat. Keep your legs wide, fingertips down in the center, breath in, and then sway yourself forward. A similar approach to our other seated forward bend. There's no outcome to be expected, but sensations. So as you lean in towards the center, try and do so from the hips. Maybe even keep moving lightly. The feet are flexed, so the toes are pointing up, and you might experience some sensations here in the inner legs, perhaps behind the legs, maybe some in the back as well. Finding your point where you need to pause and a deep, full, slow in and out breath at that point. Then walking the hands back in towards you, bending the knees as we change position and come to all fours. Now I will use my blanket to cushion the knees. Again, an option you might choose as well. Cushion blanket, both is quite nice to have. Take the knees down at about hip distance apart and then spread your hands out fully onto the mat. If you find that the wrists or the hands are sore, please step up onto fists instead. As you find your stance here, my wrists are just a fraction out from underneath the shoulders and forward, so that my spine is actually in a quite neutral position. With your hands spread out or the fists into the ground, do so firmly. If it's the palms flat, make sure that you're bringing pressure to bases, pads off the fingers, releasing the wrists slightly. Press down towards shins and tops of the feet too, and then hold yourself still and supported. As you move the hands forward, you're almost resisting the pelvis to rock a little bit backwards, or upper body rather. Then pull the hands in towards the knees and feel how the body rocks a little bit forward. If you are observing me right now, you will feel and see that the movement here is reasonably small. So we're pulling and pushing with the hands into the mat, forward and back. But while the body is rocking forward and back, we're trying to resist it with a lot of inner strength, hence the grounding to the feet and the hands before. Let's do that for a couple more breaths. Then release that in towards the center and take an out breath to round deeply into a cat. Neutralizing the spine from here, and an in-breath to extend your right leg back. On the out-breath, draw this knee underneath your chest. On the inhale, extending the leg back. On the elbows, draw it towards the opposite elbow. On the inhale, extending the leg back. And body breaks out and draw the knee up towards the same side elbow. Give it a little swing or help to land the foot forward. I have my hands on either side of the leg quite comfortably. If your arms feel a bit shorter, you might bring in a block and lengthen the spine this way. What is important, however, is that your knee is over the ankle joint, but wait for a second, lean your hips forward into a little lunge or Chalanasana while the knee is over the ankle. If it isn't, please adjust the foot. While you lean in here, find some length in your spine, and perhaps the front hip is lightly drawing back while you're leaning into the hip stretch. Take a deep breath, and with the elbows come to the heel of the front foot. I will slide my hands back to be able to straighten the front leg and then lower my nose towards this knee. Let's move that for a moment, coming to the fingertips or onto the block as you lean forward, inhale, and then rocking back towards half Hanuman on your elbows. So inhaling, lunging forward, and exhaling, leaning back. Let's do 2 more. And then holding once you're leaning back. Choices here is a deep flexion of the foot, the toes towards the ceiling, or a flointing with the ball of the foot pushing forward, toes still towards the ceiling. Suggestion to lengthen the spine forward on an in-breath in a mini wave, and then maybe folding a little bit deeper towards half Hanuman or Ardha Hanumanasana. Let yourself surrender as you raise. On your next in-breath, landing with the bent knee, your right foot to the ground. Then bring the foot back and land the knee down onto the mat, spreading your hands back out, finding your setup. While you inhale, keep a neutral spine, and on the elbows, rounding deeply into a cat. Lengthening your spine again, finding your support with tops of the feet, shins and hands into the mat. With the next inhale now, extending your left leg back. On the elbows, bring the knee into the chest, your nose to the knee around the spine. On the inhale, extending leg and spine forwards. With the elbows, draw your knee to the opposite elbow. On the inhale, extending leg and spine. On the elbows, draw the knee up to the same side elbow. And now help or land your foot forward. Same choices. You can frame the front foot with your hands. You might use a block or other support to assist you. As you gently lean your hips forward, maybe the foot comes a bit forward so you can realign your knee over your ankle joint. Staying here, finding length in your spine and perhaps drawing the front hip ever so slightly back in this horse rider pose or Chalanasana. Breathing in deeply. And as you breathe out, start to lift onto the heel of the foot. Your hands and the block might slide backwards, aiming to straighten your leg and folding with your nose towards the knee. Now we will rock this again as you might rise onto the fingertips, landing the foot, bending the knee, lunging forward, inhaling. And on the exhale, leaning back towards your front extended leg. Let's keep that flowing. Inhaling, long spine lunge. Exhaling, forward fold, sole of the foot lifted. Repeating for 3 more breaths. And holding in the last one in your half, Hanuman. Now you could choose to keep your front foot flexed, the toes pointing up or pressing out from the ball of the foot. While you hold, perhaps take a mini wave to lengthen your spine forward and then folding perhaps a bit deeper. Stay here with your breath, but also with your awareness. Then landing the foot by bending the knee back onto the ground, taking your foot and your knee back, walking the hands a tad bit further forward so you can land in a kneeling plank, drawing your tailbone down towards your knees and lifting between the shoulder blades. On the out breath now, keep your elbows close and descend to the mat. Coming to lie down onto the front of the body, the forehead rests, the tops of the feet on the floor. Now slide your forearms to the front and come onto the forearms, taking your elbows underneath the shoulders. Spreading your hands out onto the floor and actively bringing the tops of the feet into the ground. Perhaps also tucking the pubic bone to the mat, as you might feel with that a lift forward from your sternum. The head might gently be looking forward too, and the shoulders are down in the shoulder sockets. You might even encourage your shoulder blades to slide down the spine, feeling hopefully an extension in the front while deeply grounded into your legs. Swings pose. See if you can breathe within this back bend and perhaps stay here for a couple more breaths. With the next inhale, still stay. And with the exhale, let your elbows spread out and come to rest briefly, forehead to hands or mat. You might choose to bend your knees and add a little windscreen wiper movement of your legs from side to side if that feels good. Then releasing the legs, sliding the hands under the shoulders and a deep breath to come onto hands and knees, only then to stretch back, your buttocks moving towards the heels for a child's pose. Knees can be closed or wide here, as you could snuggle down to the forehead resting, or you might instead support your head, maybe it's fists that you're resting upon. See if you can direct your breath into the lower back, then the middle, and then the upper back as you breathe. One more deep, full yogi breath. And extending your arms back to the front. And inhale to come to all fours, and perhaps this is your position. Maybe you're tucking the toes under, lifting the knees and finding a down dog. Whether you find a down dog or an all fours, please move the hips. For some in a down dog, you might pedal out your legs. And then gently walking the feet forward, so you come to the short front edge of the mat into a forward fold. Your fingertips could remain on the floor or come against your shins, lengthening the spine forward into a half lift, inhaling, and then softening down for your out breath. On your next exhalation, start to uncurl the spine as you rise to a stand. Lift the shoulders, give them a gentle shrug back, and turn the palms forward so to land in a mountain pose. You might even close your eyes or find a steady gazing point down in front. Please let your inner heels draw toward each other, finding a solid stance in your mountain shape. Now I will stay facing the front, making it easier for you to follow as you open your eyes. Taking a breath in to raise the arms and the right knee comes up. Bringing the hands to the heart and in slow motion, stepping your foot back and out towards the side, pointing the toes down, then landing the whole foot, including the heel. Bringing a bend into the front knee, and if your foot's out to hip distance, your hips will be facing forward. If the foot isn't, please step it so the hips do. Feel a little squeeze between your feet, and then take the breath in to open your heart and lift. The front leg might straighten for this, and as you breathe out, bending the front knee again, and rolling the spine forward, backs of your hands might come to touch. While you breathe in, could you straighten the front leg, open your heart and lift your gaze? And with the out breath, could you bend the front knee and round the spine forward, backs of your hands are touching. Let's do that one more time, breathing in to open and out to roll this forward. Leaving your front knee bent now, perhaps lifting the hands back to heart center, regaining your heartfelt warrior shape. As you breathe in, lift the back heel and the arms. Then release the arms and step back into your mountain pose, perhaps very briefly drawing inner heels back together, feeling grounded like your mountain. Eyes open and gaze steady. Leaning weight towards the right. Take an inhale to lift the arms and the left knee is rising. As you bring the hands to the heart, extend the leg out and back. Tap the toes to the ground, out to your side, and then slowly landing the whole foot down, bending into the front knee. The same here, we draw the feet lightly together, finding our stance. The hips with ease are pointing forward. And if they aren't, please adjust the width of your stance. For the inhale, could you straighten your front leg, open your arms, your heart and gaze. And for the out breath, bending the front knee, rolling the shoulders forward, backs of your hands might be coming to touch. Let's breathe in. Straighten and open. Breathe out to bend and round forward. One more, breathing in and out. As you might keep the front knee bent, bringing the hands back to the heart, finding your warrior one. On the inhale, lifting the back heel, the arms might rise. Release your arms and step forward, returning to your mountain shape. Now I'd ask you to turn yourself slightly and standing on one side of your mat. Facing towards the long side, but standing towards a short edge. It will be towards whatever side the mat is longer, where we start to move towards. It doesn't matter which side you're standing on. So for the inhale, begin to open your arms and lift perhaps the toes to the ground where the mat is longer. Maybe the foot lifts all together, finding a star shape. There could be a little smile creeping up on your face. Then land the foot all the way down, opening the arms, turning your toes towards the longer side of the mat, the heel to the other side, and an out breath as you open arms and lean toward a triangle pose. You could even lift your gaze up here if you feel this is appropriate, lengthening through the sides of the waist and reaching upwards. You might even change your gaze slightly or look down with a little chin tuck. Feel the front knee is out of the lock and you're pressing through the ball of the foot. Beautiful. Let's breathe in to bend the front knee. Take your arms back out, turn your toes back out to the corners and bend the elbows as you're sitting into a goddess shape. Now release your arms and slide the foot over, standing towards the other side of the mat. Squeezing heels slightly in, palms are turned forward back into mountain shape. On the inhale, please open your arms, perhaps tapping the toes over to the longer side of your mat, perhaps lifting the foot. Keep sparkling out and stretching to fingers and toes. Smiling a little doesn't hurt. It's quite an open shape. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, landing the foot out wide, leave the arms wide and turn your toes towards that longer side of the mat, the heel towards the other as you breathe in. And on the exhale, tilting back to the triangle, I will modify my upper arm. You can keep your arms open if that's available to you. Starting to reach forward into the length of the side of your waist. Maybe changing your gazing point. Perhaps you're looking down. Perhaps there's a little chin tuck to look up. As you find your place, pressing down into the ball of the front foot, giving yourself the power. If your head is currently hanging, please deliberately turn it to assist your neck. Let's bring a bend into that front knee, turn the toes back to the corners of the mat and finding a goddess shape. Extending the arms out wide now and turning the heels out, so we're finding the outer edges of the feet parallel. Taking your hands into the sides of the waist and drawing your elbows as well as your shoulder blades a bit closer behind your back. You might even briefly lift your heart and gaze as you inhale. Then bend your knees and start to fold forward with the hip tilt. Moving slowly, if your hands aren't right in that position, you can bring them to the floor, but perhaps holding them here and squeezing elbows still back, shoulder blades together. As you come to your forward fold, leaning the weight towards the toes. So the tailbone comes high. Your knees can still be bent in this position. Stay here, breathe. Your wide-legged standing forward bend. Prasarita Padottanasana. Two more breaths. When completed, please release the hands to the floor. Bring one knee down and then the other. And you might want to come back onto a very thinly folded blanket or cushion to sit upon. Extending your legs out in front and taking your legs out wide. Please flex your feet once more. Bring your hands down either in front or by your sides and find that tall, upright position in the spine. No tendency to lean forward, just simply sitting upright and tall. We could repeat here by bringing the hands back behind the head. Turning with right elbow towards right knee, and then elbows for a side bend. Your elbow may be landing on your thigh. A breath in to center and twist, and a breath out, left elbow leaning down to your side bend. Let's repeat that a couple more times to each side, just twisting and then leaning towards the side bend. Keeping your feet flexed as you move, and no need to rush. Let's repeat leaning towards the right and then holding there. Instead of your elbow to the side, if you reach there, your elbow could rest on the floor inside of the leg. Please keep both feet flexed, toes pointing to the ceiling, and an extra option here to extend your upper arm over the head. Reaching with these fingertips towards the toes, but rather than rolling the shoulder in, deliberately keeping it back, and you might use the support of your elbow here. The hand might come back behind the head. Lift yourself as you breathe in, turn, and breathe out, leaning left elbow towards left side, or the same option here to the inside of the leg, to the floor. No pressure of getting there, keeping your shoulder back, the feet in flexion. Extra option, extending your upper arm over the head, pointing the palm to face down towards the floor, and actively reaching with your fingertips in the direction of your toes. As you maintain your side bend, you might go deeper, but you might also use the support of your elbow against the floor or the thigh to allow a deeper reach of your arm coming across. And might come back behind the head, and a breath in to lift yourself up. Take both of your hands away and lean down towards your left-hand side. Take a sniff of the floor. Pushing up and changing sides. Let's do that once more, only to each side. Then coming back in towards the center, bringing the hands down in front. And perhaps there's a wiggle of the sitting bones, a walking forward action. Please close your eyes, no expectations, but keep your feet in a flexion as you lean towards the front, whatever that means for you, just being happy here as you breathe. No matter the outcome of this forward bend, it will still provide you with all the benefits that it has. So rather than aiming for something that isn't available to you in this very moment, being grateful for what is available and what might grow from the current availability as you might explore it over and over again in your practice. Let's begin to walk the hands back as you come again to a seated pose, helping or drawing your feet in onto the mat. I will now place my blanket back here and grab a block just in case, placing that down by my side and rolling slowly onto the back. Landing the feet down comfortably, the arms along the sides of the body. Take a deep breath in, tilt your pelvis and gently lifting your hips up. You might take this block and place it underneath the sacrum. Maybe it's flat, maybe it's halfway up. Try and find the sacrum area. Oftentimes I see people placing the block a bit further up the spine. This is neither comfortable nor actually supportive. When you place it like this, there's the pelvis holding yourself up as well. And you might choose to keep your hands on the block if you need that as a support. to feel balanced. You can choose to stay right here holding a supported bridge, or you might choose to bring your knees up, the feet off the floor, and perhaps extending the legs towards the ceiling. If you feel comfortable on your block and fully supported, it's not wobbly at all, you may release the block and open your arms. The same gesture here to what we practiced before. The palms facing upward, ready to receive. And even if it is about the benefits of this shape, a light inversion. As I might have mentioned several times, the benefits of inversions are that of reverting the flow in the body. We're using now gravity to release the blood back towards the heart, using gravity to release the lymph towards the thoracic duct. Hence, the hips lifted is beneficial to move all the way, while it is still beneficial to keep hips on the floor and only the legs lifted. To have that release, when we're usually standing or seated and having our feet on the ground, is almost invaluable. Perhaps a practice that you can make a habit in the evenings before you go to bed, or include it in your morning practice. To release, you might use your hands on the block again, gently bending the knees towards the chest, then stepping your feet back down. Once they're landed, lift the hips, take the block out, and slowly roll the spine down onto the ground. Bringing the knees back towards the chest, one hand on each knee. You can choose to circle the knees both in the same direction or away from each other. Please try and see what feels best for you. Then changing the direction you circle. From there, landing your feet back onto the mat. You might take them wide as the mat and pop knees back in for constructive rest, releasing your arms, and perhaps gently rolling the head again from side to side. You've done so a sufficient amount of time, please center the head and either choose to stay exactly as you are right now or extending both legs out long, maybe even rest your knees over a cushioning. Feet might roll out to the sides for Shavasana here. I suggest to close the eyes, but it might be more beneficial to steady your gaze towards the ceiling instead. As you find your resting place, becoming still now in your physical body. When stillness arises, it's oftentimes the mind that is then very challenged. So if your mind is challenged in this shape and form, let it focus on the flow of each breath as it comes and as it goes. How comforting is that when we're in a corpse pose, which is what Shavasana translates towards, and we can feel very much that we are alive and actually follow on that sign of life, of prana, life force and energy flowing, simply by noticing that our breath is still there, making that our focal point. with each breath guiding you in your practice of Shavasana. You might choose to listen to a poem by Rumi. I might have shared this poem before, but I think it's almost invaluable. It's called Only Breath. Not Christian or Jew or Muslim, not Hindu, Buddhist, Sufi or Zen, not any religion or cultural system. I'm not from the East or the West, not out of the ocean or up from the ground, not natural or ethereal, not composed of elements at all. I do not exist. I'm not an entity in this world or in the next. Did not descend from Adam and Eve or any origin story. My place is placeless, a trace of the traceless, neither body or soul. I belong to the beloved, have seen the two worlds as one, and that one call to and know. First, last, outer, inner, only that breath breathing human being. Cherishing each breath as it flows through the nostrils. Beginning to deepen your breath. Maybe noticing a sense of movement coming to you, perhaps moving towards that sense or stretching yourself out. In your own time from here, coming to join me in a seated shape, where you might bring the palms of your hands to touch in front of the heart. The thumbs might lightly attach to the sternum. Your eye gaze could be down to the floor. You could close your eyes. Let us finish with the universal sound of Om. Just one round as we breathe in together. Into the silence that follows the Om. We gently bow toward each other. Namaste.